It's 7:31, and so I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to call the meeting to order. 7:32 now. We'll start with citizen comments,
Secretary?
as usual. Sorry?
We have a secretary?
No, she's not
I
here
think we're-
tonight.
Yeah, we're planning to have her do minutes from the recording. Is that correct?
Yes, I can do roll call tonight as needed.
Oh, I suppose, yeah. Do you mind doing that, Natalie? Because she would have taken attendance and I guess with the recording, she will be watching, but it's probably a good idea to do that.
Sure. For attendance, Martha Gaines,
Present.
Debbie Braun,
Present.
Matthew Mitchell,
Here.
Mick Morrell,
There he is.
Hello.
I'm sorry for the delay. My computer's making all kinds of noises. I don't know what's going on. I just turned it on for the first time today. Okay, so yeah, going to citizen comments as usual. First thing, I don't see anybody who is obviously a possibility for citizen comment, but if anyone is here and wants to speak, feel free to do so or raise your hand or write in the chat. And Natalie, do we have anything that we knew about ahead of time?
no.
No. Okay, so it appears there are not any citizen comments. I believe that we talked about moving any action business as well as appointing the new commissioner is one of those 4 action items up the agenda in order to make sure we have Mick with us in order to get some votes done. So I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that we start with moving new business item B up to be handled right now, and that is appoint new commissioner. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Debbie Braun, I'll second it.
Great. And Natalie, do you want to handle all the roll call votes? Do you
Yeah.
mind doing that? Okay.
I'll do them all tonight. Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Debbie Braun,
Yes.
Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
Mick Morrell,
Yes.
Great. So one thing I do not know, I'm realizing right now, is that I don't know if anybody had envisioned that we would have any discussion here or if we are just moving straight into a vote. Did anyone have any thoughts there?
My understanding was that we were just moving into a vote.
Might as well.
So we should make a motion, and then if it needs to be discussed, after the second, you'll discuss it.
All right. This is Debbie Braun. I make a motion that we move into the vote for,
No, it's just a motion for what you want to do.
a motion to move the,
No, a
No,
motion
we've
to
already moved it.
to appoint. Right. We're at that agenda item now, Debbie. So if you want to move to make the appointment, you can do so.
that's what I thought. Okay. I want to move to make the appointment for a new commissioner.
So I think you have to say who you are moving that we appoint.
We're not voting?
We are.
Debbie, you're going
making-
to say who you want to appoint, and then somebody will second that, presumably, and then we'll vote on that.
Oh, okay. I'd like to appoint Matthew Rogers for new commissioner of Ridgeville Board of Commissioners.
Charlie, do you need the wording any more specific, like that we're filling the vacancy or anything like that?
That's fine.
Okay. And is there a second?
Mick Morrell seconds.
Great. And so now is the opportunity for any discussion, if anybody wants to engage in that. But for the public, anyone who doesn't know, we held interviews in executive session. We discussed an executive session, and that's why we're ready to move to a vote right now, unless anyone has anything to discuss or say or anything. Okay, Natalie, if you would please roll call the vote on that motion to appoint Matt Rogers.
Sure. Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Debbie Braun,
Yes.
Matthew Mitchell,
No.
Mick Morrell.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes to appoint Matt Rogers to the Board of Commissioners. Congratulations to Matt. And he'll be sworn in person as it needs to be, which can't happen in our virtual meeting. So that will take place after this meeting, and then he'll be joining us officially as of the September meeting.
Matt, I'll be in touch with you about that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna move that we also bring up from new business item A, discuss / appoint Jung, is it? Hauer as IMRF agent. So yeah, we'll deal with that once we get approval on moving it up the agenda. So I've made the motion to bring new business A up to right now. Is there a second?
Second, Mick Morrell seconds.
Thank you. And Natalie, if you'll roll call.
Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Debbie Braun,
Yes.
Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
Mick Morrell.
Yes.
Great. And then we'll let you speak on that, Brian.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Are you speaking on that agenda item?
On Jung?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, no, she's been with us now 3 weeks straight, plus some part-time work before that. Tomorrow is Abby's last day, so we will fill out the paperwork and send this into IMRF to appoint Jung, our new IMRF agent, which is very necessary and vital. And she's doing a great job, by the way.
Great. Does somebody want to make that motion?
I move to appoint Jung Hauer as Ridgeville Park District's IMRF agent. Mitchell.
And is there a second from anyone?
I'll second it. Debbie Braun.
Great. And Natalie, if you would roll call the vote.
Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Debbie Braun,
Yes.
Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
Mick Morrell.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for being willing to move those up. And then in terms of other items that are going to need action, you know, in the interest of having Mick with us in case he gets called away. Am I missing anything, Brian? I mean, that looks like, yeah, Natalie.
Martha, I believe JC's report will require a motion in terms of signing the petition. So I don't know if you want to move that up as well.
Right. Sorry. Hold on one second. Sorry. I just had to have my 7-year-old dog walker let the dog out. I'm curious about this, Natalie. Charlie, I have a question for you. If somebody from the Ready Committee is about to ask for a vote for action from the board, did that action specifically need to be on the agenda like other action-based items or no? Charlie, did you catch my question?
His mic.
Sorry, I muted myself instead of unmuting. Yeah, it probably should be on there. What is the issue?
Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and I'll make the motion to move that report from JC up the agenda. We'll hear from JC, and then Charlie, you can tell us how you feel about what's going on. If we need to wait another month in order to take action so that it's properly on the agenda, then that's what we'll do. So I make a motion to move up from the monthly reports D. Jerry?
You might want to approve the bills because they're a bit more urgent as far as needing action, and then go to JC, just a suggestion.
that is true. That is true. And we have to approve the minutes, but that's not as pressing. So,
Yeah, minutes aren't as critical, but approving the bills, state law, we have to pay the bills within a certain time period.
right. So this meeting is going to be all out of order. I make a motion to move approval of bills up the agenda to be dealt with right now. Do I have a second?
I'll
Mitchell
second it.
seconds.
Mick Morrell seconds because it's all my fault.
And Natalie, if you'll roll call.
Yep, Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Debbie Braun,
Yes,
Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
Mick Morrell,
Yes.
Great. Thanks, Natalie. Anyone have any comments, issues with minutes from the July 8th, 2021 meeting?
oh, you're doing bills, right?
Doing bills.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yes. Yes, Bill, so sorry, yes. Brian, if you can tell us about these.
All right, I'll go over the unusuals in the bills. Auto wares is a minor part for one of our trucks. Chicago Tribune Media Group was a tribute to Ann Rainey and a commissioner's listing. Evanston Water Department, we have a very high water bill. I'll take 30 seconds to explain that. It's about a month and a half of water, and it's from various groups using the water at 908 Seward, including staff, camps, garden to table, and watering plants around Ridgeville Park by Catherine Egan's group. Also, you should know if you get a bill that as your water uses escalate, so do your taxes. So a lot of water was used, but about half of that is a variety of taxes. So we apologize for that, but it was a very big month of water usage for June and part of July. As we go further down, Fresh Prince of Evanston is t-shirts for camps. Groot is 2 months. That's why it's high. That's for June and July, or July and August. Hannah Moore is a refund. Home Depot, that's a very high bill, but we ordered 2 fire doors, which are about $4,000 total. So that's why that bill is higher than normal. As we further go down, John Dalton, $29,000. That's imaginary gain, 3 weeks of camp. That's the camp share. We get about 25% on top of that. Julie Robin, that's another refund from one of the camps. Steve Knight, that's a farmer's market concert. Language in Action, it's a partner class over the summer. Caroline Moyer, another refund. Nice Rink, that's a liner for, it's coming, believe me. It's a liner for the ice rink. That'll be here before you know it. Playwell Technologies, another partner camp. Quill is paper products. Russo Power Equipment, we bought battery packs for our blowers because during most of the year you can't use gas powered during certain times of the year. So battery packs make us in compliance. Russo Power Equipment, that's a battery pack. Sunrise Tree, it's a high bill, but we pruned a variety of trees. We did a Elks Willow tree that had branches and low-lying branches. Mulberry tree at Brummel, which was growing into the building to the east, and the center tree in the park also. At Reba Park, we got rid of dead trees on the eastern side fence line. Then there was branches in the tree all the way forward to the south end also. United States Postal Service, that's $100 for the stamp machine in the office. And Darren Williams, I gave Darren approval to buy the staff some food at the Food Truck Fest, and we're reimbursing Darren. That's it.
Thanks, Brian. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Hey, Brian, how many years will you get out of that liner for the ice rink?
We got 2 out of the last one. It just
Great.
depends. It just depends on how the neighbors and the dogs cooperate. Because
Yeah.
when we're flooding early in the season, if the dogs get on it, it's a problem. Also, if we have a warm winter and it starts to melt, the dogs get on it, it's a problem. So what we've done is we put a fence around the rink to try to get more years out of the liner. So the last liner, we got 2 years. we hope to get 2 out of the new one.
I have a question too, Brian. I know you said the water is quite high and why it's high. Do you happen to know offhand what an average water bill is for us?
That should be around $300, $400.
Okay. And with summertime watering and elks and all that, is this pretty normal moving forward? Do you think that we'll see a bill like this in this month?
No. There were hoses left on at the bases of trees. I think we had a leak in the garden, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So this should not happen again.
And then imaginary games, it's at 29,250. Are you saying that we take 25% of that? No, or
No, we've already taken our 25%.
Okay,
That's
okay.
their share.
right. Okay. Anybody else? Questions? Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to approve the monthly bills for August?
I'll make Mick Morrell makes a motion to approve the bill summary for August at the amount $79,270.38.
Mitchell seconds.
Great. And Natalie, would you roll call?
Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Hey, yep.
Debbie Braun, say it one more time, Debbie.
Yes.
Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
Mick Morrell,
Yes.
Okay, so in terms of items with action, I think all that's left is
Petty cash.
hearing from JC.
You should do petty cash.
You gotta do petty cash too.
Oh, petty cash too, yeah. And okay. All right, well, I'll make a motion then let's see. Am I needing to make a motion to approve to move up approval of petty cash because of the fact that we're still jumping over the minutes?
I don't think so. I think we're in order.
Well, we're not in order because we haven't done the minutes yet.
Oh,
do you just want to do the minutes quick? Because it's
I
not
mean,
going to take long.
Yeah, it takes about as long to just do the minutes as it does to make the motion to jump over them. So let's go to approving the minutes from July 8th, 2021. Does anybody have any issues or discussion on this? Okay, I'll make a motion then to approve, this is Gaines, to approve the minutes from the July 8th, 2021 monthly board meeting.
I'll second it. Debbie Braun.
Great. And unless anyone has anything else to say, we'll let Natalie roll call to vote on that.
Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Debbie Braun,
Yes.
Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
Mick Morrell,
Yes.
Great. So now we are back in order, moving to approval of petty cash. And we'll turn it over to Brian as usual.
okay, Amazon, there's numerous orders. Most of them are multiple camp supply orders for session 2. Apple is a memory times 2 months. Harold Bailey was our DJ at Soccer Fest. I believe it's pronounced Chazé Roberts. He was part of the drumming group that played at the Soccer Fest. Citgo is ice, that's not gasoline. Dunkin' Donuts is for the morning crew at Soccer Fest. Edible Evanston was a field trip for Catherine Egan's crew. GoDaddy was a domain renewal. Jewel Osco, we had to go buy some quick items for kids who forgot their lunch. MailChimp, emails over 2,000. Maja Rios is a farmer's market concert. Popeyes was lunch for the 6 to 8 staff a while back. Mark Poldillo is a farmer's market concert. Sam's Club, variety of snacks for session 2. Silly Safaris was an animal show as a camp performance for both our camps at 908 Seward. Sticker Mule, those are giveaways for future events. Theodore Horansky is a writer's workshop for the 9 to 12-year-old camp. Wellington Grenache, most of you know Wellington, Elk Park neighbor. We broke his window by accident on his car. A pebble shot out from the lawnmower and broke a passenger side window, so we replaced it. And Zoom is the various meetings. That's it.
Mitchell moves to approve the petty cash for marked August 13th, 2021 in the amount of $3,249.52.
McMorell seconds.
Great. Any issues or questions from anybody? All right, Natalie, if you would roll call that one.
Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Debbie Braun,
Yes,
Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
Mick Morrell.
Yes.
Great. So at this point now, I'm going to make a motion to move up the agenda from the monthly reports, Part D, hearing from J.C. Herman from the with a report from the Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. Do I have a second to move that up the agenda?
Debbie Braun, I'll second it.
Great. And Natalie, would you roll call the vote?
Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Debbie Braun,
Yes,
Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
Mick Morrell.
Yes.
Great. So JC, I will turn it over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I'd like to start, let you all know during the executive session of our special meeting on July 22nd, Debbie Braun resigned from the Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. We are grateful for your work, Debbie, and we're looking forward to working with you as a board member in the future. But that also brings me to the way the guidelines were set up by our consultant, Dr. Effiam. The committee is supposed to have 2 commissioners. And with Debbie having stepped down, we are in need of another commissioner to join our committee. So we would like you all to keep that in mind. As you all are looking to finalize the budget coming up, the committee is hoping that you will consider including money in the budget for events and giveaways such as books that will further the Park District work towards promoting equity in the community. We also hope that you will continue to include a stipend for a secretary for the committee, because that's also been something that's been really important for us to have. And we are currently looking, Natalie is interviewing different consultants for the upcoming year. We will narrow it down to 1 or 2 people to recommend that, you know, all the board members meet and see if that's someone that you would want to hire to work with us moving forward. The actionable item that I have to bring to you all today is, and some of you might know about this already, but Evanston School District 65 is being sued by a teacher who is claiming that she was discriminated against because she was white. There's a petition to express opposition to this lawsuit has been signed by many organizations and individuals around and outside of Evanston. And we are recommending that Ridgeville Park District does the same. Those are the links that Natalie sent you earlier. There's a link to the complaint. And Elaine, we're really fortunate to have Elaine here so that she can explain to us a little bit more about what the lawsuit is and what's going on, since she knows about this stuff much better than I do.
Thank you, JC. What we have here is something that styles itself as a complaint for declaratory and injunctive relief. It was filed on the 29th of June, and it was assigned to Judge Robert Dow, who is a George W. Bush appointee. He is well regarded. Curiously, it's not seeking a jury demand. It's a very unusual kind of complaint, and I would suggest, and I'm speaking right now. I'm not speaking as a lawyer, and I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just talking about my personal impressions on a preliminary review of the complaint. But what we're looking at really isn't so much as something seeking legal action as a vehicle to create public discussion, shall we say. It's styled in a way, it's very well prepared. The the council that drafted it up, I would assume, is a group called the Southeastern Legal Foundation. It's a well-funded group that handles these kinds of claims in what I would consider to be an effort to generate opposition to the exact kinds of things that our school district has been attempting to do with its program to address inequities in District 65 and to remedy them. The complaint itself purports to attack what they're saying, and I'm quoting the complaint now. It's quote, euphemistically called social justice, diversity and inclusion, critical race theory, and culturally responsive teaching. And they're saying that it's code speak for a much bigger and more dangerous picture. The practice of conditioning individuals to see each other's skin colors first, then pitting different racial groups against each other. The case is bottomed on the Constitution, the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, and on Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Title VI bans discrimination on the basis of race in the context of education. As I said, it's well drafted, but it is created to inflame public opinion against what it is that the school district and educational institutions across the nation, what we're attempting to do in an effort to address racial inequity. The facts are exaggerated, and they're cast in a light that is often, frankly, lurid. An example is that the superintendent was quoted as saying that he was uncomfortable. There's a link in the complaint, and the link carries over to a Wall Street Journal article, much of which is behind a paywall. The part that's not on a paywall talks about how there were threats made against members of the community, and the superintendent said, it looks as if there will be uncomfortable for a while. That's not an exact quote, but that's not exactly the same thing, I would submit, as saying that the superintendent was uncomfortable about what his own organization was doing. There are various claims that are made, but curiously, there's no real injury that's alleged. And for example, one of the things that's complained about is that all of the teachers were required to participate in an exercise where they were separated on the basis of race, so that the teacher is complaining that she had to sit in a room with other white teachers talking about their experiences as white teachers vis-a-vis race. Another incident that she complains of, without explaining just where the injury might lie, involves an exercise in which the participants were creating a color line. And so in this particular exercise, the various members of the workshop would stand in a line, and they would stand forward or stand backwards depending on how certain things had affected their lives. So for example, if they had gotten an FHA loan, they would take a couple of steps forward. If they'd experienced discrimination, they would take a couple of steps backward. And over a period, this created disparities in where people stood along the original line, the line that represented equality, and that was the color line. Well, there's no explanation in the complaint as to how the plaintiff was supposedly damaged by having to participate in this exercise where there was a color line. And what it really comes down to is that the supposed injury is having to participate in a program where there is discussion about how disparities are created in the educational process. Now, what Title VI and the Equal Protection Clause prohibit is the disparate treatment of individuals on the basis of race. And what this particular argument would end up with, where the direction that it's taking, is that there should be a judicially imposed prohibition on the discussion of the inquiry into the analysis of disparate treatment on the basis of race. It's a circular argument. It doesn't go anywhere, but that's what it is that we're dealing with. Now, the way that this would proceed through the courts, the way it would proceed through before Judge Dow, is that the defendants would make the school district would make a motion to dismiss, and the motion to dismiss would involve a briefing schedule. The plaintiffs would, I would assume that they lose, but being perhaps optimistic, they would also have an opportunity to replead and to file a new complaint. And so after this period, the judge would make a decision as to whether or not there were a viable case in front of him. Assuming that the judge found that there were not and dismissed the case, it would go up on appeal to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, by the time it got up to the Seventh Circuit, given the work by this advocacy group that is handling the case on behalf of the plaintiff teacher, I would anticipate that by then the Wall Street Journal is already looking at it. I assume that we'd have some other organizations, for example, Fox News, and that it could become, it could easily become something that would involve even weekly commentary. The shock and horror that such a thing could be going on in Evanston, Illinois, that people would be talking about racial disparity in education and have programming that would be addressing that. So as I see this is a real threat in part to our educational system and in part to ourselves as a community. I see this as something that's intended as a public relations gambit, and that this is something that we're likely looking at. It would probably take a little time to work through the courts, but it would probably hit, excuse me, right around the time of the midterm elections. So, having said that, I might mention that the complaint asked for damages of $1 because of the profound damage and injury that the plaintiff has suffered. In any event, I do recommend that the Park District sign on to the petition that has been signed by many, many members of our community, many other organizations. Many of the organizations have filed statements to explain the vote. And I think that that's a desirable thing. And I also think that it would be wise for the Park District to spend some time thinking about just exactly what needs to be said. The Park District is not the same thing as a parent-teacher association or as a school district itself. The Park District has different interests that it protects. This lawsuit is brought for the purpose of creating division. And I would submit that what the Park District about is creating community, creating unity, creating cohesiveness, the exact opposite of the objective of this lawsuit. And I would encourage the Park District to spend some time thinking about just exactly how to present what the Park District uniquely has to offer to this national discussion.
Thank you so much, Elaine. And I included the links for the petition and the actual complaint for you all to look at that was included in the board packet. Elaine, I really appreciate your explanation. It helps, really helps to understand what's going on. And that's everything I have for you all today, unless anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Sure.
Sorry, I was muted. I said thanks, JC. I wanted to just add that as a member of the Ready Committee and also preparing for this meeting as a board member, I spoke additionally with Elaine recently to follow up on the discussion we had on this item in the Ready Committee meeting, the most recent one. And we were talking specifically about, we talked about a lot of things, but we were talking about the idea of issuing a statement in conjunction with signing onto that petition. And that part is not put together yet. We didn't get that far in the Ready Committee. So when it comes to the fact that we did not have the action element on the agenda for this month, and the fact that the statement has not been crafted yet, I would suggest that that the Ready Committee talk more about this in their next meeting and possibly come up with some wording that could be delivered to the board, because that way the Ready Committee does some more work putting that together. The board can then read it and see if they agree with it. Also, then the board can take any additional time they may need to take to learn more about the lawsuit itself, read the existing statements that have been made by people in our community, and be ready to say how they feel. And I see what you've said, Natalie, and I understand that the wording itself of for action being included with the items on the agenda may be a new logistical element to being clear that items are added with intent for action to take place. And that's a good point. But Elaine, correct me if I'm wrong, part of the Open Meetings Act is so that the public has notice of when votes are actually going to take place. I'm not quite sure if that is, and Charlie, obviously, you know, I should have asked you, not Elaine, but I was speaking about this with Elaine. I don't know if there are, it's my understanding, for instance, that if we were to add an agenda item in the moment of the meeting, we can't take action on it. We can add something and discuss it. We can't take action on it. Is it true, Charlie, that if something's on the agenda, we can vote, even if it doesn't specifically say it's for action?
It may be true, and in exigent circumstances, you could probably do that, but I don't think that there's an exigent circumstance here. It's not clear that this is on the agenda for vote. And so I think the appropriate thing for the board to do is to delay it till next month and then put it on for action at that point. I mean, it's possible that some members of the community may want to be heard on this and may want their citizen comments to be heard. And I think it's appropriate to give them the opportunity to know this is coming before the board and for them to be able to speak up on it.
Hey, Charles, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Can I
no,
ask
go ahead.
Charles- Can I ask Charles a quick question?
Yeah.
Charles, does this fall under, our park district board is supposed to act as nonpartisan. Does this fall under politics?
Yeah, so I think this is nonpartisan. They're addressing an issue in the community. It's a legitimate inquiry for the board to decide whether or not this falls within the park district's mandate or not, and make a decision on whether they want to support this or they want to stand apart from it. But I don't think it's, in a sense, everything's political, but I don't think this is really a political issue. It's more of a nonpartisan issue.
Thank you, Charlie. So again, to get back to the idea that we would give, the Ready Committee some time to come up with a statement and give the board some more time to familiarize themselves with what's going on in order to be able to make an informed decision in the form of a vote as to whether you would like to collectively stand against this lawsuit or not. So again, thank you, JC, for the update. Thank you, Elaine, for chiming in specifically about the lawsuit itself. And we'll talk about it next time. Great. All right, moving on. And at this point, we'll just resume the normal order of the agenda, which would take us back to Brian's monthly report.
Great, thank you. We concluded our summer camps, on Friday, July 30th. We had a successful summer with 2 all-day camps, one for 6 to 8-year-olds, one for 9 to 12-year-olds. Camp directors V. Witter and Christina Drill did a fine job for us. We are now in week 2 of 3 weeks total of partner camps. They are imaginary game and Playwell Technologies STEM camps. Playwell actually ends tomorrow. Also, in the last 2 months, we have completed several special events and concerts. To say the least, it's been a very busy summer. Ruben, Sierra, Marcos Cruz, Natalie Salee, Abby Lavelle, and Jung, I forgot to put Jung Hauer in there, met the challenges very well. We will have a few more special events you should know about. The city of Evanston is sponsoring movies in Cayman East Park on August 28th and Elks Park on on September 4th. Natalie's got the Ridgeville Fall Winter brochure out. You should be receiving one in the mail shortly if you haven't already. She did another great job on that. In your board package, you have received updated tentative budget that is to be discussed. Treasurer Gibbs and I have worked on this document. After board discussion and year-ending reports from Jerry, we will meet again to see if there are any more adjustments we can make. They will probably all be minor in nature before the September board meeting. Please remember that in September, we will pass the appropriation ordinance. That's it.
Thank you, Brian. Hold on a minute, please. Any questions for Brian from anybody? Okay, thanks again, Brian. Moving along to Jerry's report. Hi, Jerry.
Okay. I'll start with some of the activities of the month. The Cook County Clerk let us know that the PTEL process was completed finally. That's usually done in June. It took until July 26th of this year. The county treasurer's office then put a notice on their website saying that tax bills are going to be mailed to the taxpayers in late August and due October 1st. That's a significant delay for our receipt of 2020 tax revenues. Typically, they'd go out early July. It'd be due more like August. A copy of the county clerk's draft levy report is attached. Had we found any errors and any corrections needed to be made, there's a little window for that to happen. In our case, there were no problems. There usually is not. But once all the taxing bodies have reviewed their reports and the corrections are made, then it becomes a public document that taxpayers can access at the county clerk's website. So it's good that you see that and understand what the report looks like. The levy ordinance could have requested about $2,800 more before triggering any PTEL reductions. We didn't have any reductions. We always try in the budgeting process to get as close to the magic number as possible. We came up, there's a lot of moving variables, so we can never be precise to the penny, but we got within $2,800 of it. Overall, what it means is that our 2020 tax levy over the 2019 levy increased by an amount slightly less than the rate of inflation. The second activity of the month was due to the delay of tax receipts. Our balances in our operating accounts have fallen so low that we risk becoming overdrawn at Chase in July and early August. So I transferred $100,000 from one of our investment accounts at US Bank into the operating accounts at Chase. And it's highly likely we're going to need to do an additional transfer of funds in the next few days. Actually, with this month's bills, we've just about zeroed out the bank account again. We've had to do this occasionally in the past when there have been delays to the tax receipts, but it's been a lot of years since we've had to do it. And even then, never we had to do it at such a scale as we're doing right now. But our past prudent management of the finances means that we're well positioned to be able to do this. So we've got the funds to get through this cash crunch. Once the tax receipts start to come in again, we should be fine. In terms of the monthly reports, you've gotten the appropriations ledger, the trial balance sheet, and treasury fund reconciliation, reflecting financial activity as of the fiscal year end. These are preliminary figures. In other words, they're not in final form yet. Tonight's bills, you made some more approvals of things that will impact those numbers. I'll have to process those items, and then I can generate the final figures for the month of June. Once I do that, then fiscal year end can be closed out and completed, and the auditors can be notified to begin their process for doing their financial review and producing the annual report. I would anticipate that by next board meeting, we know the date of when the auditors plan to get started. They may have actually, by the next meeting, done the first data gathering step of it. I'll talk about some of the key indicators out of those reports. Overall, it looks like our actual expenditures for the fiscal year ended up at about $28,000 below plan. By fund, the general fund expenditures were about $15,000 below plan. All the other funds were under budget by less than $5,000 each. By line item categories within each fund, generally the pattern was that the capital expenditures exceeded the budget while wages and salaries were below the budget. This was kind of our intended adaptation to the impacts of COVID-19 on the activities of the district. Had we been able to run programs as normal, we would have seen higher salaries and wages and program expenses, and we wouldn't have done some of the capital spending. In other words, we kind of reserved a spot in the budget to run normally, but if things didn't run normal, then we had the application of those funds towards the capital projects. Revenues overall were about $42,000 below plan. Of this, program revenue came up short by about $20,000, and tax revenues were short by about $21,000. There was a little shortfall in the interest revenue. Projecting the program revenue during budgeting was very difficult because we had to, whereas on the expense side, we assumed kind of maximum expenses. On the revenue side, we assumed, what if we didn't have the programs and didn't have that program revenue? What would that do to us? And we projected a $60,000 reduction in program revenue. And that actually came in more like $80,000 below what we projected. And that's where we had the $20,000 shortfall. Tax revenues are a little bit more concerning because they're typically pretty reliable. We get what we ask for. And so it's a bit odd that we don't have all the tax revenue we should have, but it's partly the nature of the process itself. The good news is replacement taxes came in $7,000 over the projections, but the property taxes came in about $30,000 short. The property tax comparison is misleading because the ordinances include a figure for the full 2020 tax year, which doesn't coincide with our fiscal year. So in a given fiscal year, we only get about 55% of the property taxes that are in the ordinance. And we also receive 45% of the prior year's ordinance, which, 45% of a lower number. That timing problem creates the misleading comparison. So a fairer way to look at it is to say, did we get 55% of our 2020 taxes as we would have expected? And the answer is no, we did not. We came up short by about 24,000. That just suggests to me that taxpayers have been a little slow to pay their first installment. Probably not a surprise given some of the COVID-19 impacts. The remaining 6,000, 24,000 plus 6, getting back to that 30, that remaining 6,000 is likely lost revenue from 2019 taxes that we're never ever going to see. And that's all. There's always a little bit of a shortfall, which is why the county puts in a loss factor. In terms of our net position, our net revenue less the appropriations, we are in a position where we were a negative 135,000 compared to the plan of 121,000. This means that we spent about $14,000 more relative to the revenue than we planned for. This ordinarily would be a pretty serious concern because we're drawing into our reserves to be able to fund that. However, given all the variables of the past year, COVID-19, I think we had a rainy day fund and cushion that comfortably positioned us to handle this situation. And again, that's just thanks to the prudent fiscal management over a period of several years to have that funding in place. In terms of our assets and liabilities, overall, the totals dropped $80,000 from May to June. Most of the changes were on the liability fund balance half of the equation. Specifically, accounts payable increased from 0 to $120,000. That's typical at year end. Fund balances declined by nearly 200,000, which was the way it funded the drop in cash balances. Our bank balances declined by roughly $101,000 between the end of May and the end of June, again, showing that we're drawing down our balances, and we have no banking relationships exceeding FDIC insurance limits at this time. I would kind of close with this thought. It's been a very unusual fiscal year for us, probably the most unusual year since I became treasurer. And I have no doubt that if I were to ask Dean Skane, who oversaw the finances for 45 years, he'd say it's most likely one of the most unusual in Ridgeville's history. And he saw a lot of history in that time. I think Brian deserves an enormous amount of credit, him and his team, for all they've done over the last year, because they've had to show a great deal of flexibility and be willing to adapt to a very fluid and challenging situation, plan for a bunch of eventualities, and then manage to the ones that actually emerged. And I think more than that, the credit is due because we were in a position to handle this so well. It shows the good work that was done in prior years to put us on the sound financial footing that enabled us to get through this year so really almost effortlessly. And I think commissioners present as well, and particularly past, deserve credit because the oversight and support they've given Brian is what gave the Park District the financial ability to weather the past year. The auditors are going to review everything and they'll weigh in with their report in a few months. I'm fairly comfortable they'll be pretty impressed with what we did this past year. And in terms of our overall history, we've had years where debt has almost overwhelmed the ability of the Park District to continue. We've had to do bond issues, tax anticipation warrants, and take other similar funding actions, which they had to go to the voters for special referendums to be improved. I've never been through one of those. I'm told it's no fun to have to do that. And they had to do that in times when the disruptions were smaller than the kind of disruptions we faced over the past year. So I think that's how significant it is that we came through this year in such fine form. And I really applaud the job of Brian and the commissioners over a period of time to have put us on the financial footing to have gotten through this year. That is my report.
Thank you, Jerry. Anybody have any questions for Jerry? All righty. Moving on to Natalie's report.
Thanks, Jerry. Also to you for everything that you've done the past year. It's been a struggle for everybody, and we appreciate you as well. Okay, cool. Summer camp's over for Ridgeville. We ended on July 30th. We had an awesome summer. Could not have asked for a better group of kids. We did a pizza party for the staff on the last day. The parents were invited on the last day to watch a movie the kids had made and check out their arts and crafts projects. Thank you so much to my summer staff for taking great care of the kids and helping them make positive summer camp memories at Ridgeville Park District. Partner camps, August is devoted to partner camps. So typically throughout the summer, we do mini camps in the afternoons at Cayman. Because we made our summer camps full day this year, we were not able to work with local organizations to offer those mini camps like we typically do. So I decided to do extended mini camps through August. So currently we have 3 weeks of the Imaginary Game at Ridgeville Park District, or at Ridgeville Park, excuse me, and 2 weeks of Playwell Technologies Lego Camp that came in East Park. Both of these camps are offering kids full day options, which is great. We are also doing a little bit of extended care for the Lego Camp because it ends at 3 o'clock. Because a couple parents had asked for it and some of my summer staff was still around and said they would do it. All the partner camps sold out for the August session. So that's great news. We were looking for a couple kids to fill out the first week of Lego camp. So thank you to everybody for sharing my posts and helping me get that done. Concerts and farmers market, having a great summer with those as well. The farmers market and the concerts will run through the end of August. So August 25th will be the last one. We've had huge crowds, huge crowds, and they've had a great time. The vendors are happy. The musicians have been fantastic. So I think everybody's been pretty happy this summer. Lions Fruit Farm will continue to offer home deliveries beyond August. I think they're doing that on Tuesday directly through their website, and I'll have that information on our website as well. Studio 908 fall classes. The fall winter brochure has been mailed to homes. It's also available for pickup at the community house. We're offering one long extended fall session. So it'll be a 14-week session for adults that begins August 29th and a 12-week fall session for youth that begins September 12th. I think we have about 20 classes running this fall. So, once those start to fill up, I'll update you on how many of them actually end up running. Some of them are online, some of them are in studio, some of them are hybrid, both online and in studio. So it should be fun. Capacity limits will continue for all the in-studio classes. We are asking non-vaccinated participants to continue to wear masks indoors. That includes children. In addition to the Studio 908 classes, this fall we will also host some partnership programs from Grupo Axe Capoeira, Language in Action, and the Imaginary Game. Vacation. I'm going on vacation. I go on vacation tomorrow morning, and I will be back next Friday, the 20th. I will have my work phone with me and my computer. We'll have a ready meeting and some other things to do. So if you need me, you're welcome to call or text. I just might be a little slow getting back to you. That's it.
Thanks, Natalie. I love hearing all these examples from other organizations and from us of how we pivot. That's like the key word, right? Being adaptable and making changes for the pandemic that allow us to still offer as much as possible and still be safe. So thank you for helping put those changes into play.
Yeah. We have a yoga class that's been at Ridgeville for many, many years, predates me. It's been there for a long time. And I think the same participants have been coming for years and years, and they begrudgingly moved to Zoom because we had to. And now they love Zoom. And I don't know if they're ever going to come back to the park, but they will Zoom yoga for as long as we're going to offer it. So it's actually been, in some cases it works out well for people.
Well, yeah, and that makes me think too that we've always had space constraints. We can only offer so many classes at once because we only have the space that we have. Maybe that's a new direction we could go, is offering classes that really lend themselves well to a digital manifestation. And then
the Language in Action was such a great partnership because I had tried to run a Spanish class for years, and we had interest, but I had a hard time hanging on to teachers. And Language in Action actually runs these classes remotely, and we partner with lots of park districts. So instead of like Ridgeville needing like 7 students to fill a class to run, they put it all together. And so like when all these park districts come together, then they can run their class because you've got different participants from different districts. So that's been really cool. That's been another good example of a class that's been successful, remotely.
Yeah, very cool. Reminds me of those YWCA Equity Institute workshops, the ones I've been doing ever since they went virtual. There's people from all over the country participating in them. So It's really cool. Thanks again for everything you do and for your report. All right, moving right along. We've got old business, discuss tentative budget 2021/2022 as our next item. And Brian, you want to talk about this?
Yes, we made a few changes from the tentative budget you received before. The tentative budget you have now should be dated August 9th, 2021. in the bottom left of your tentative budget. The changes were not excessively excessive in any category. We raised a few, we lowered some others, but overall, in working with Jerry, these numbers will change again because we'll get year-ending reports. So categories like utilities may be altered, wages in certain areas may be altered. The tough thing about this tentative budget is last year's numbers aren't going to help us this year because of COVID. The pandemic kind of threw everything for a loop. So in a lot of categories here where it's going back 2 and 3 years with a little inflationary increase to make the categories work for what we anticipate is going to happen. A few things of note. Health insurance actually went down slightly. You should know that CA5 utilities is a guessing game because of price increases in various categories. CA10 audit, we know that number. It's been previously discussed and it's a solid number. Board activities, got to look at that a little bit. Capital improvements to facilities, we have $15,000 in the budget for the maintenance garage roof repair and $4,000 indoors, which we just spent this month. R12 vehicle maintenance, fuel's in there, so we had to increase that, as that's a little bit of a guessing game too. R17 capital outlays for parks, a few more benches. Most of that's going to be concrete to put the benches in at about $400 to $500 per bench. Reba sidewalk repair and fountain to go in. Outside art, which hasn't been defined, but it's in the budget. Install the other half payment of the Reba equipment, and then the natural nature-based play area to be defined, but there's 15,000 in there. Partner camps, big ticket item for us, and that's basically it for. Oh, hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. We also are asking for out of capital $25,000 for a park vehicle. That park vehicle, you have a little description of it in your board packet. We will, if you approve, we will add a few attachments to that. And basically, what that'll let us do is brush plow the sidewalks. It will let us do various park works without taking the big truck across the parks, haul tables, garbage, things of that nature. It will be, we have a vehicle that does that now. It's called the 4x4 Gator. It's history. It's about 15 years old. It's not worth continuing to repair, but this will help the crew. They'll be better. You may ask why we would brush the sidewalks versus plow the sidewalks. The sidewalks, especially at Leiter, have huge dips and valleys in them due to trees lifting up sidewalk blocks. So as you would snow plow, you'll hit a curb, so to speak. The brush will go smoothly over that. It'll save wear and tear on machines. It'll save the guys' backs, things of that nature. It seats up to 4 people, and one of the attachments we'd also get would be the sidings, snap-on sidings, so they could stay warm in the thing in the winter as they do work. It won't be able to be used on the ice rink if anybody was going that route, because we can't get it over the boards and into the rink. But at any rate, it would be extremely helpful to the crew, and the old vehicle's on its way out, so the new one would come in. We also have $10,000 again in bequest for beautification. That may go up before the next meeting. We have plenty of money in the Vanda Haven bequest. We've already spent probably $5,000 of it. Tonight, we spent $4,200 on various prunings and beautification projects with trees in the parks. So that might go up. So the big one for us in capital is the vehicle. And that's a quick overview of the tentative, secondary tentative budget, which you don't have to approve, but certainly look forward to any input.
Sorry for my absence. Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
I was just gonna comment, am I correct in remembering, Brian, that next month we would need to have a public hearing before the meeting on the budget, so the meeting will start earlier?
Yes, that would be on the agenda. Yes, there'll be a public
Yes.
hearing at 7:15 till 7:30 for community input. Absolutely.
I just wanted to be sure to mention that so the commissioners know we got to start a little bit earlier next month to hold the public hearing.
Yep, you are absolutely correct.
Brian, I just got a couple questions on the vehicle. I'm assuming this gets better gas mileage than the pickup that they're driving currently, right?
Oh, yes, it's
Right.
it's actually diesel, but we're going to look into, I don't know if diesel, I haven't really looked into it. Is diesel cheaper than gasoline right now? I don't know.
But either way, I know that, that 250 that they're driving around gets terrible gas mileage because I have a similar one myself. So, and this would, in the summer, all year round, this would kind of be a more, would you see this as a more primary vehicle for them?
No, it would be a park vehicle only. They may take it to Elks Park,
Okay,
but it's not going to be, it would be for a need in Elks Park. It wouldn't be for a daily routine.
Okay.
They would take,
so it's not, will this be like, will they put turn signals, all that, so it'll be street, they'll be able to drive it in the street?
sure, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think it's great. I know, I can second that plow. I know talking to streets guys here, and I've actually had EMS runs where guys have gotten hurt plowing and hitting, plowing sidewalks and hitting a bad crack. And you see, Northwestern, the city of Evanston, they all use that brush. That's kind of the go-to whenever you're doing sidewalks with these vehicles.
Right.
So, yeah.
The city of Evanston has this exact same vehicle a year or two older. And then we would have to, I would contact the city to see if there's a state contract on the vehicle that gives it to us at the lowest possible cost through a predetermined bid by the state of Illinois.
Brian, what do you think the lifespan of something like this is? And will we be able to get any money, like a trade-in for our other one?
Maybe a collector would like the Gator. As far as a mechanic, I would think the mechanic would, well, first of all, you're going to use it in the park, not on the street. So it'd be some kind of institution or park district, and no one's going to want it to put the money into it. I don't know if there's a value. We would certainly try to scrap it for whatever we could, and or see if there was a market, but I highly doubt there's a market for it's so old. I mean, it served us great, but it's seen its day. So was there a part two that I didn't answer? No, okay.
I have some questions, Brian.
Okay.
Yeah, did somebody just start to talk?
I just said, okay.
Oh, it sounded like a feedback thing. Sorry. In CA 13, there's a number of facility repairs and maintenance. I'm just kind of curious if we have specific plans here, or if some of these might be categories where there's just, yearly amounts that kind of stay the same. So with regard to community house, garage, art studio, I know that we've already been doing various repairs in there. What is that 3,500 for?
We would have to potentially paint, it's a community house, garage, and our studio. Potentially paint. We're going to paint the standards in front of the maintenance garage. Right now, the yellow poles, the safety poles. Community house could be sealing the floor, painting. The garage, art studio on the second floor. We didn't do any second floor work last year because it got pushed forward and we spent that money elsewhere on various large items. So there's a variety of things, including potential storm windows. There's a variety of things that go on. The maintenance garage might also still need a few LED lighting changes. We're supposed to be done with that in 2019, and we're still a little bit behind on that. So there's a variety of things in each building.
Okay, speaking of lighting, as you just mentioned, I see there's $2,000 for lights. So I'm just wondering again, if that's specific lighting that we're planning on either upgrading or just replacing, or if this is
That's upgrading in the maintenance garage to LEDs.
okay.
We're almost done with that.
And have we been kind of slowly upgrading to LED whenever we're kind of able, if we're needing?
Are we what?
Well, are we
Okay.
upgrading to LED slowly in order to have better?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Everywhere
We're-
we
we're-
can,
Sorry, go ahead.
everywhere we can and whenever it's needed, we upgrade.
Okay. And are we doing the kinds of upgrades where we need electrical work done for LED specific, or are we doing just up like LED bulbs that can go into existing?
It's both, but the maintenance garage is electric work specific also, but it's both.
Okay. And then when we have 1,000 for studio floor maintenance, I know dance floors that see a ton of use do need to be maintained and wood floors need to be maintained, period. Is that a particular type of maintenance we do yearly, or is this amount, because 1,000 isn't even that much for, if we're talking both studios? I'm just wondering.
Right. So we had the studio sanded and sealed, I would say 2 years ago. And Daniel's Flooring did that. And he said to seal this at least every other year because you only have so much floor left. The second floor studio is probably 15, 18 years old, which is not old in terms of hardwood floors. But when you sand them 2 or 3, 4 times, you only have so much floor left. The main studio in 908 Seward is older than I've been there. So that's 30 plus years. So there's not much floor left there. So to seal it saves you from having to sand it sooner. And then therefore getting more life because you don't have to replace the wood floor over time. The next floor we would ever put in 908 Seward would have a little suspension underneath it so you could feel a little cushion as you use it for dance and that type of thing. But we're not there yet. We're close.
Okay.
We will see.
And I see 3,000 for new carpet at 908. I think I heard it through the grapevine that maybe entire upstairs, or some of the upstairs has already been done. Some of it needs to be done.
No. It would be up the staircase and the entire upstairs, except for the main office, that was done fairly recently. So it's 90% of the carpet has to go.
Okay. Let me see if I had another thing specifically. Oh, the air conditioner, 1,000. What exactly are we doing for air conditioning? I know there's like a window unit in the
Right. Well, that's for repair for the compressors if they go out, which we repair at least one of them every year. Window air conditioners we just put in with the money from the tail end of the 2021 budget. Part of the major things we replaced in lieu of the wage money we didn't spend. So no, that would be for repair and upkeep of the condensers at Cayman and Ridgeville and the Garage Art Studio.
okay.
Now, Martha, you need to understand a few things. We may not have a problem with the furnace or the air conditioning units this year, but it's in the budget, just in case. That's one of those things you can't predict.
Right. And that was my question is, do we have something planned where we're spending that money, or is that to kind of cover us if issues come up? In the board development activities, that's where we've got the ready minute taker. I just want to make sure that that's correct. So that doesn't need to come out of the
We have the ready minute taker. We have IAPD membership. We have equity and outreach, and we have board development. Like we'll send Matt Rogers to boot camp and whatever else is necessary, or whoever wants to do other things educational wise as a board member.
Okay. Okay, great. I'm happy to see that the ready minute taker of 1,500 is not coming out of the 1,400. They're separate line items.
Right.
Which leaves more for equity in terms of consulting and other activities and events and stuff like that. Anybody else? Questions? For the 4,000 for doors at 908, is that the fire doors that you mentioned?
Yeah, that's the exit door out of the 908 studio to the Ridge Avenue side, and the exit door on the basement on the driveway on the east side. Those two doors will be replaced.
And $15,000 roof repair / door as in garage door, like the big door.
Yeah, they're in fine shape from the outside and the inside. There's some insulation work to be done. The roof repair on the garage roof is basically a tar replacement in areas, not the entire roof. It has a membrane on top of the garage, and then there's seams, and seams really need some work because there is some seepage. There's one item I'll point out for you in CA 51, which is needed. It's a washer and dryer for 908 Seward as we're washing yoga equipment constantly, and or tablecloths or whatever comes across the need to be washed. Instead of Brian taking it home or Natalie taking it home.
Yeah, no, that we should not do that. Is $1,000 going to cover us for a new washer and dryer?
Yeah, it's not, we're not getting, we're not going to get the top of the line, massive, large washer and dryer. That's not what we're going to get. We'll have smaller units, and it'll be installed by Ruben and Marcos.
Have you guys considered those ones that, rental buildings and condo buildings use, where they're designed for sort of more industrial use? Those seem to hold up much better. I don't know if they're cheap though. They're probably expensive because they're designed to last for a long time. But
yeah, this won't be used like an industrial unit at a.
We need industrial washer and dryers for the kind of stuff that we do, that you've been taking home. I mean,
it's tablecloths, it's a few blankets, that type of thing.
you guys have already been taking them home to wash?
Yes.
Are you saying we don't currently have a washer dryer down there at all?
No, we don't.
I thought you said you were replacing. So we're just buying one to begin with.
We've done both. We've gone to laundromat and done them, and I've taken them home, and Natalie's taken them home. So
we really need that.
Yeah.
You can drop
yoga blankets and sometimes the mats, they need to be washed. That shouldn't have to get hauled somewhere else. No way.
I hand wash those mats. I can't wait for wash and dryer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I assumed we had one that was washing those things. We definitely need that. So I've mentioned this in the past about the art. We managed to budget $2,000 for the art last time, which went towards those wonderful benches. Yeah, that Sherry did for us in coordination with the themes and colors from the mural. And I'm not necessarily arguing that we should do public art at that level in every single park, as often as we can. But I think, and I hope people agree, I think the payoff from that small expenditure was amazing in terms of what kind of public art we have in Ridgeville Park. And I would definitely like to see us pick another park this year and do some similar stuff. Obviously, kind of whatever makes the most sense with the space that we have. It doesn't have to be, we don't have a ton of mural option places, for instance.
Right.
We kind of just used our go-to mural place. But if commissioners are comfortable with it, I'd like to make the change right now to bump that up a little bit from 2,000. I'd love to see us have at least 3,000 there. How do other people feel about that?
I'm okay with it. I'd like to, I mean, this is just a preliminary thing. Don't we usually have these discussions at the budget meeting?
I mean, it's my understanding that these things can happen at any point in the multiple months in a row where we're dealing with the budget. And Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't want to leave changes to the last minute. So if we know of things at any point in August, September, they can be brought up, and then those changes can be integrated to the next version that we're looking at.
Yeah, the next version you see is the version you have to vote on. We don't want to make any changes to that. And in fact, you won't see it in this form. It will be, Charlie will take this and convert it into an appropriations ordinance that you're going to vote on. So it's tonight would be a great night to get all your things bumped up that you want to get bumped up.
Martha, just to comment on that, I agree with you. I think the art we have in the Ridgeville Parks, or that, the mural and the benches is fantastic. I guess I would be curious to know how much did that cost us? $2,000 for the benches and the mural? Is that how much that cost us?
No,
Or was it?
the mural was from the year before. The benches were this year,
Okay,
and they were $2,000 each.
2,000 each. Okay. Yeah, then
One thing you should know is the new benches, you're not going to paint those.
Right.
There's like baseball benches. You might want to put sport-related things on the baseball benches. I don't know. I really don't have a identified area.
Sure, nothing at like Brummel or any of the other parks where there's the opportunity for this, right?
Brummel has all new benches. Elks has baseball benches. Cayman East has baseball benches.
Yeah, there's no walls or anything there where there's the opportunity for that, right?
No, not at either one of those parks. We don't own the wall at the train viaduct, so that's not ours. But that's not to say we can't find spots.
Yeah.
Right, and what I'm envisioning, Mick, you weren't on the board when we discussed this last time, so I'll fill you in real quick. And also, some of this happened in meetings with Natalie and myself and Leah Pinsky of Art Encounter and the Evanston Mural Arts Program of Evanston. These art ideas that we've done so far, they didn't exist previous to us coming up with these for Ridgeville. And sure, would it be a nice go-to to paint more benches if we have benches that are similar to what Sherry painted for us this time. But we talked about other ideas that have not been executed yet that I'd like to resurrect. Things like installations along fence lines of very small sort of two-dimensional art pieces. We talked about writing, for instance, so the two-dimensional art pieces that might go on a fence would say Ridgeville or would say the name of the park, or the sky's the limit with the kinds of creative things that we can come up with in terms of imagery, letters, words, that kind of stuff. And of course, we could choose to go into the territory of things like sculptures or other physical art besides just painting things like walls and benches. So when we're at this budget stage, I'm not proposing the details of how we spend the money. I'm just kind of trying to think, I'd love to see us do art at sort of a slightly higher level next time around. And, the biggest part of the expense, both of these times, was paying the artist. So there's all kinds of options in terms of what we do next time. I'm not proposing that we use the exact same artist. I think opening it up to other artists in the community, in fact, is a great idea. So, it's basically just, generally speaking, the idea of supporting additional public art in our parks. That's where I'm coming from, is that I'd like to see us add a little bit more there. I don't think we're gonna struggle to figure out what kinds of cool things we can do art-wise in the parks with 3,000.
Oh yeah, I know that. My question was it was basically just preliminary, because I wanted to know if we needed more than the 2,000, if we were just going to do one more park this year, right? If it was necessary to add more than the 2,000. I was just wondering how much that cost to do that, just so I could put it in perspective. I wasn't
Right.
saying it painting benches. I just want to know if we needed more than the 2,000 as it was, right? Because if we take if we add more from there, that means that that extra $1,000 has to come from something else, right? And I don't want. What's that?
I said bingo.
Right. I don't want to, right. I don't want to, we need fire doors, right? We need a roof. We need things like that. Right. And I'm all for beautification of the parks, but I don't want to take from something that we need to give to something that we want when $2,000 seems as though it did a great job. So if we have a place to take it from and we're all okay with it, I'm fine with that. But
Let me just say this. In the great words of former Treasurer Dean Skane, if something comes in, what goes out? $3,000, $1,000 increase is not a problem. We can find $1,000 elsewhere in the budget. That's the kind of adjustment Jerry and I will make at the year-ending budget meeting when he has June 30th numbers. We can make an $1,000 adjustment. I'm certain of it. How about some indoor art? Some wall painting possibly. That's something we've never discussed, but public park art. But at any rate, I'm up for ideas and we can get it going.
Sorry, Debbie, go ahead. Debbie, were you trying to talk?
It was me.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, sorry.
It's okay. I'll tell you later.
Okay, I was just gonna say in response to what Brian said, we have talked about indoor art, but when we ended up meeting with Leah Pinsky, we've started focusing on outdoor art. And I see, of course, that the budget says outside art. It doesn't need to say outside art. We could make that category art, and or public art is the line item, and then getting more specific, it says outside art. We can say indoor and outdoor art, and then we can decide if we spend it all outdoor, all indoor, a combination of the above. Of course, the details get worked out later because Natalie starts talking to people, getting quotes, finding out what kinds of things we can do. If anybody amongst the board or in the community has creative ideas, that's where those kind of start to factor in. And as I said, when you pay an artist, there's going to be a range of prices. So Sherry was able to do these awesome things for us, and look her up, please. Sherry Charlton. Am I saying her last name right?
Sherry Charlton.
Yeah, she's amazing, and her murals are amazing, and it's so cool to have the art that we have from her. There's no shortage of artists looking for opportunities to get paid to do their art. So there's going to be a range of the kind of money that we can spend. We might be able to find somebody to do things for us for less than we paid Sherry. We might be able to find people who, charge more. So that's the flexibility and the detail that would come down the line. But yeah, I mean, to your point, Mick, I would never propose that we spend money in any way that isn't essential or safety-based or, the things that we have to do for the sake of the things that are fun. I just know from experience that asking for $1,000 more was something that Brian would be able to accommodate. And so, I was more asking if board members agree that we should prioritize art, moving into the year to the tune of $1,000 more than we've done each year for the past 2 years. And again, assuming that we have the wiggle room. Does anybody else want to comment on that art thing, either in support or not?
I will just say this, and Natalie will be able to give you names of the organizations possibly, but we have gotten phone calls and very positive reviews on the outside art.
Yeah.
Awesome. I have more questions. Sorry, folks, but this kind of is the time to do this. Garden plots, $4,000. Wondering kind of exactly where that's going, but also wondering where, if anywhere, we have it accounted for where we take money in for the rentals for the garden plots. Where is that located in the budget?
The money from the garden plots? Is that what you said?
Right. Yes, the people who rent them from us.
Yeah,
What I would say to that, let me tackle that quickly. The budget looks at the expenditure side of the equation. The levy ordinance looks at the revenue side of the equation. That's the primary focus of the two different ordinances. That said, Exhibit A is a requirement of the appropriations ordinance that says, here's how we intend to raise the money to pay for the expenditures. And so there is the rentals line item on the Exhibit A. But what you don't have is the kind of the in-depth detailed line item accounting for the revenue side like you see on the expenditure side, on the appropriation side.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, as to whether we need to see that detail or not, I'm not necessarily commenting on that. I'm literally asking like about how much we get for, because seeing the garden plot expenditure just made me wonder what we're bringing in, so that I have a little bit of an idea of the ratio there. And then also I'm curious, given that we've accounted for $5,000 of rental income on Exhibit A, also wondering, you know, of that 5,000, what's the garden versus, I'm assuming like people who rent out the field house, and yeah, Natalie.
I was just going to answer that. The garden plots, there's 30 of them at Elks. And currently we charge $35 for the season per plot. So we bring in about $1,000 on those. The garden to table program is either $300 or $350, whether or not you're a resident, and there's 13 participants. So we bring in about $900 on that program, $1,000. So I think between the two, between Elks and Elks is a rental, garden to table is a program revenue, but between both of those gardens, we bring in about $2,000.
Yeah. So the 908 Seward Garden would come in under garden to table. That would be in C105. That's program revenue. And the 30 plots, she said, at Elks is accurate, but one plot we don't charge for. So it's actually 29, not 30. Anyways, the Elks plots would go into the rental revenue. Other items that go into rentals would be anything we rent at the building. And the big number that goes into rentals is going to be the soccer, AYSO soccer. That's going to be in our spring and the fall, or the fall and the spring.
What do they pay us about?
They pay us $10 a kid. It depends on registration.
Okay.
So it could be approximately $1,800 twice, you know, in the fall and the spring. It just depends how many kids register. But that's a ballpark number.
Okay, and so that's what we're looking at when we see the 5,000 in rentals in Exhibit A.
Right.
Is things like AYSO, the garden plots, and then any other facility rentals we do.
Right. Now, facility rentals is a big question mark because of the pandemic. So
right,
we had to keep that low.
Okay.
Martha?
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly clarify a little bit. So it regards to JC's report from the Ready Committee and about the budgeting. I believe right now, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 14,000 that's set aside for equity.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. So just to let you all know, as I'm doing kind of a pre-screening with consultants, I'm telling them we have $10,000 that we're talking about kind of as a starting off point for the work for this fiscal year. So that does leave $4,000 within that budget for things like books and special events and whatever we decide to do. So I don't know, based on what I just wanted to tell everybody that in case you're looking at that equity line item and thinking about adding or taking away money from that, that's kind of where we're at in terms of what I've, been telling consultants that we have available.
There also may be more equity seminars to go to, like the YWCA had great ones and a lot of us used them.
Yeah.
So that other $4,000 will come into play and it'll get used.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I've told them 10, because I don't know, that could change. It might cost 11 or 12, who knows, or 8. I have no idea, but I know we wanted just a little bit of wiggle room within that 14,000 to do things like buy books and potentially, have events or whatever. So that's it.
Thanks.
Brian, I have a question. I'm clearly not understanding something here because this number is just kind of blowing my mind. In employee health insurance, we've got director, program director, maintenance foreman, maintenance crew, and then those are in the 2s and the 1,000s. Then we've got miscellaneous estimation, it says in parentheses, $60,000, 529.
What category are you in?
CA 8. It's
Okay.
page 2 of 8.
No, so the 60,000, forget the 60,000, that's a mistake. The 66,000, Jerry would add the miscellaneous category to make $65,428. He would round it off to 66,000 for budget purposes. That's where the estimation, that 60,529 is a mistake. Just disregard it.
Is the problem, Brian, the monthly rate didn't get multiplied out?
So yeah, so those are monthly health insurance rates, right? So we
Yeah.
got times 12 in each of those.
That miscellaneous is normally just a rounding if it came up to, because we don't like to have funny little numbers. We try to be rounded within $500 on each category. So normally that would just be a small little amount had they multiplied everything out. But I think they just kind of backed their way into the big number, and the formula went a little nuts on them there. But
Okay,
the
yeah.
overall, the gross number's right. The detail got a little messed up because they didn't multiply it out by 12 months.
Okay, yeah, so that makes total sense. That number just really stuck out as not.
Yeah,
That's my guess. I haven't seen the report, but
For computer stuff, you guys, $6,000. Just wondering if that is also like a specific plan of where that money's going, or if that's sort of a category and yearly computer needs just kind of fluctuate. Do we have?
6,000?
I
No.
think,
The 6,000 are you talking about?
yeah.
Yeah, no, my computer and Natalie's computer need to be replaced.
Okay.
That's specific. Natalie's is about to throw hers out the window, so.
Brian, when you have for Reba Park, right, install the play equipment and then still paying for half of the balance of the
Right.
equipment. Okay.
By the way, I'll give you an update on equipment delivery. There is no update. It's been delayed. So like everything else in the world currently, if you order kitchen cabinets, be prepared to wait months. If you order play equipment, it was already delayed, what, about 10 weeks. I called Lainey today at Park Recreation to try to get the exact delivery time. She couldn't get it, but she's working on it for us. I can update you on that, but be prepared for further delay.
When we
By the
are,
way, also, Martha, I'm sorry, the mud tables, I told you were coming the next day, July 29th. They've been delayed.
okay.
Everything in the world's delayed.
And in terms of paying the 50% balance, have we done that yet? I mean, I know it was going to have to be in this budget year, but
We paid the 50%
okay.
last budget year.
I have a question, Brian. But speaking of Reba Park, we talked about the water fountain. Can you, and then I see that we had, I can't remember where it is. I think it was only $1,000 for like water fountain repair or something. Can you remind me what you and I talked about with the fountain at Reba? Because I think you said that when we're moving the concrete, we can fix the leak underground and make that fountain functional. But are we putting in a new faucet we already have?
We're going to put in the new fountain we already have, and that's at minimal expense. So that's the estimate I got from Pennell Andrews was to put the fountain in while they do the concrete, and it's $2,000 or $3,000 total. So it's covered.
And then what about fixing the leak underground? Is that also going to be pretty?
That will be fixed by the fountain connection.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
That will be fixed. The question is, will we turn the fountains on next year? I don't know.
Right. Brian, you've got $500 for the 4x6 Gator. Is that not the Gator you just said is a goner?
That Gator's going to the graveyard if
Okay.
we pass the budget in September. So
So
there's
that $500 could go elsewhere because that's just going to go away.
absolutely.
Okay. So that's an example, of like money that can move around. They can't, of course, move between funds, but
Right.
I think those were all my notes.
Yeah, at this point, you could move things between funds too.
Oh.
It's once it's passed, we can't change the numbers between funds. But right now, you can move anything around anywhere. And to that point, when you talked about the public art earlier, the public art works in the recreation fund because it's in capital outlays for playground and parks.
Mhm.
Interior art isn't a playground. It's not a park. So it would have to be in another category. We typically have the building improvements over in the general fund.
But,
So-
Jerry,
so
what
it's a
about, like-
silly, subtle little thing, but
No,
it
that's
is.
a good point. It's a good
Yeah.
point. But what about the fact that like a mural, we already have a mural in 908 Seward in the main dance studio, for instance, is like art that would be in spaces that is used for programming. Is that arguably recreational, or is it like it's indoors so it needs to be in a certain place of the budget?
It could be argued either way in terms of our chart of accounts, our structure. We don't really have an allowance for interior improvements to recreational facilities. We've generally considered anything we do to Seward over on the general side.
You call
Okay.
It doesn't mean we couldn't create it. It's just we haven't had that in the past.
Couldn't you call it out of facilities, repairs and maintenance, some form of painting?
I don't see why not.
That's DA 13. I mean,
But that's my point. It's over on the corporate fund, not the recreation fund. We've got line items on the corporate fund to handle the interior work.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions at the moment. Anything from anybody else? Nope. Okay, so Jerry, if you could just remind us one more time, you said in September we're doing what again?
You'll have a public hearing to review the ordinance, and then in the main meeting, you'll pass the ordinance. So the purpose of the public hearing is to give the public an opportunity to weigh in on the budget. You know, it's a required thing that we have to do. In practical terms, we rarely have anybody show up to comment or make any changes at that point.
And then, Jerry, you've often referred to the budget process as concrete that's slowly drying. In September,
It's
that
set.
it's set? Okay, okay,
Yeah, I mean, this is we're getting pretty dry now.
okay. And then,
I mean, you've got, if you think of anything between now and before the next meeting that you want to get a hold of Brian of and you know, make sure he's aware of, that can still be done. But kind of to make changes at the meeting would be problematic because the ordinance has been written and the concrete is pretty well set.
right. And then,
Now, what Brian and I will do once I have the final budget numbers, you know, normally what we would do is it's intended as kind of a reasonability check to see is what we're proposing for a particular category consistent and in line with what we did in the prior year. It's just a kind of a final review process. And the second part of the process is we firm up that Exhibit A. We get Exhibit A to come into balance and make sure that it's going to comply with PTEL and what we've got in terms of funds on hand and what we really can expect in terms of revenue. For many, many years, it was just a meeting between the treasurer and the director. In recent years, it's more often kind of evolved into an opportunity for commissioners to observe our review process that we go through, and in some cases, kind of became a working meeting on the budget. We haven't had a discussion about doing that, but the challenge we run into when we do it is if we have more than a commissioner in attendance, then it becomes a meeting and we have to do a public meeting and do, you know, all the kinds of things we do for a public meeting. If it's just a one-on-one between me and Brian, you know, that's fine. So I just hold that out. That is sometimes, you know, there's kind of a sometimes late August extra meeting that we end up having because we have commissioners wanting to be more involved in that final review process. Up to this point, I haven't heard an interest of anybody doing it. So we've just kind of planned on going forward, having the non-public meeting flavor of that discussion between me and Brian. But
That's what I was confused with. That's why I said, don't we do this at the budget meeting? That's what
Yeah. That's only in a year when we get forced into making it a public meeting, because there's enough commissioner interest that we needed to do it that way.
Do you have that one planned? Because I actually always like to attend. I just, if it hadn't come up, that's why I
Yeah,
haven't said.
we haven't discussed a date or planned it yet.
Okay, and you said more than one commissioner, Jerry? I think it's more than two, right? We could have two.
Yeah, I'm hemming and hawing on it because I don't know the exact number, but
Okay.
Harley knows.
Yeah, two.
Three is a quorum, then we'd have to post it. Two is not a problem.
Two's not a problem, three is, right?
Right, exactly. So to the board, even though we don't have a date set just yet, so you can't comment on whether you're available that day, but you know, we could certainly be picking the date based on people's availability. Do you want to just raise your hand if you're definitely interested in attending a budget-based meeting? Okay, so if Matt and I were the only two to go, then it would not need to be a public meeting. Of course, we have Matt Rogers, who can't chime in just yet, who will be a commissioner next month. So I would recommend that any commissioners who definitely want to attend a budget meeting, just follow up outside of this meeting as soon as possible, and then we can schedule that accordingly. Is that okay, Brian and Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry needs to finish his year-ending books, so. What's the?
Yeah, if we did it, I would think we would be doing it sometime around the 25th, 26th, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, if you can just.
Then it goes to Charles, who puts it in legal form for the September meeting.
Okay, I think in the past, I could be wrong. I think we have planned a certain date for that particular budget meeting as of probably this August meeting, if not sooner, because if we don't do it, I mean, we can of course do it outside of this meeting and probably should, but I think in the past we've been able to plan for.
It's been like on a Saturday, as I remember. Right?
We had a complete board budget meeting several years ago on a Saturday. That's probably not necessary because where we're at in the budget is good and two commissioners want to come. So when Jerry's finished with the year-ending books, we'll probably do it on a weekday in the conference room and punch it out in an hour and a half.
And if we want to attend virtually instead of being there physically, we can just do a Zoom, right?
Yes.
Are you guys planning on getting together in person?
Yeah, we'll be in person.
Okay. Okay, well, we can follow up about that budget meeting in terms of when it gets scheduled. It sounds like Matt and I want to attend. And I think that's it then for the budget tonight. Brian, I know we have this information about the vehicle in our packet. Did you want to say anything additional about it, or that's just the visual to accompany the info you've already shared?
Yeah, we've already shared the information. We would definitely buy a accessory brush and the wraparound winter casing, I guess is the right word for it, snap-on siding for warmth purposes. And the 25,000 would be the top amount of money we'd spend on that vehicle.
Okay. So moving on then from the budget, we've already executed A and B of new business. Item C, discuss procedure for board communication outside of meetings. This was my agenda item. I don't have much to say other than just making sure that newer commissioners know proper procedures for communicating about things like scheduling special meetings. Obviously, the Open Meetings Act limits how much we can communicate with more than two people talking to each other. And there are a few things that probably will need to be just shared or reminded as we move forward in time with an increasingly new overall board. And in fact, I think to be a little bit more organized and make sure that we're including Matt Rogers formally once he's joining the board, I'm going to table this because that will allow us to go over it when we have a full board that will hopefully be an amount of 5 people that will continue with each other until the next election. So, you know, in the meantime, of course, if you want to communicate to the rest of the board, you can't just email everybody. You're not even supposed to hit reply all when Brian or Natalie emails everybody. And so it's Natalie who holds the position of corporate secretary in addition to being program manager, of course. And she's the one who can pass along, relay, reword anything that needs to go out to the rest of the board. So that will suffice for that one for now.
Can I add something to that?
Yes,
real
please.
quick?
Yes, please.
On a day-to-day basis, if it's not corporate secretary business, I'm in charge, so to speak, and you would start with me, and then we would filter it out. If it's corporate, you go to Natalie, and then Natalie and I together would get it done, whatever that issue may be, whether it's scheduling, questions could be answered, research to be done, things of that nature. But start, if it's corporate secretary stuff, start with Natalie. If it's Park District business, start with me.
Okay. And Brian, do you want to just define real quick, what is corporate secretary stuff? Like what are the kinds of things that we would
Sure. Hold on one second. It would be things like elections, signatures of documents, any questions on minutes or recordings. Secretary would be responsible for correspondence with the board. The secretary would be present for all meetings. She would, or he, is the liaison of the board. The secretary shall work with the executive director or designee to ensure comprehensive records and management. So let's say, for instance, you didn't have a copy of the minutes, and we could, something as simple as that, we could get that for you. Our corporate secretary is the election official. I'll keep saying she because it's Natalie. And then the corporate secretary would do oaths, file the affirmations as required, file that paperwork. She'd sign all official documents along with the board president, like the budget, appropriation ordinance, things of that nature. But she is in charge of all that corporate work. Natalie, did I miss anything?
I'm also the notary for the Park District, and I do all of the official legal news filings that have to go in the paper.
Right.
And did
I
you
guess,
guys,
when in doubt, you can always just email me, and then I can tell you who needs to. I can either coordinate between you, or I can, lead you to Brian or Jerry or wherever you need to go. But when in doubt, that's why I have a new phone.
thank you, Natalie and Brian. And you guys have typed up, it sounds like already, job description, which would help guide the board members as to what responsibilities.
Yeah, we'll send that out in next month's packet.
Okay, great. Okay, at this point then, we've got this call of the commissioners thing. So I'll just go through people alphabetically. If you want to say anything additional, Commissioner Braun?
No, nothing.
Okay. Commissioner Gaines, I'm going to pass as well. Commissioner Mitchell?
My 2 boys have been enjoying Lego camp last weekend, this week. It's been great. Tomorrow's the last day. Also, I wanted to mention that Ridgeville's partnering with the Evanston Public Library, and tomorrow evening there's going to be a dance, evolution of hip hop in Brummel Park from 5 to 7. It'll be hip hop dancing with Mr. Marcus of Dime Dance. He is a local legend and super positive, all ages, gets people on the dance floor. So excited about that partnership.
You gonna
Thanks.
bust a move?
I have previous engagement, but I have. I've
Right.
gotten out there with Mr. Marcus before.
And Commissioner Morrell?
Yes, first, thank you for rearranging the meeting on my behalf. I appreciate it. Sorry, I missed out on a little bit there. Secondly, I wanted to thank Dan Coyne for his work as a commissioner, and for all that he did for Ridgeville and the community, and I know he will continue to do. And then I wanted to congratulate Matt Rogers, our newest commissioner. Welcome. I'm not the newest anymore. No, but seriously, Matt, thank you for joining us. Thanks for giving your time for the community. I know I speak on behalf on the rest of the board that we all look forward to working with you. So welcome and congrats.
We have a last section of citizen comments at the end of the meeting here. So if anyone is here who would like to make a citizen comment, now is the time.
I will make a citizen comment since I'm still a citizen as of this particular second. And just say thank you for supporting me in coming onto the board. I look forward to working with all of you. I know, like I said, a number of you fairly well, and have worked with staff on previous projects and everything. So I look forward to my time on the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. And I think that's probably it then for citizen comments, unless anyone wants to chime in here. Last call. Okay, seeing that there are none, Natalie, if you don't mind, well, we have to make a motion first here. So I move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Mitchell seconds.
And Natalie, if you would roll call for us.
Sure. Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Debbie Braun,
Yes.
Matthew Mitchell,
Yes.
Nick Morrell.
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody.
Have a good evening.
Everybody have a good evening. Natalie, have a good vacation.
Yeah, have a great
I
day.
will.
On Natalie.